The message came at midnight when Jake Harris was sleeping in his small room on the space station. His communicator made a loud sound that woke him up fast. He sat up in his bed and rubbed his eyes. The screen showed a priority message from Earth Command. This was not normal. Jake was a commander in the human space fleet. He had served for 12 years in different parts of the galaxy. He had fought pirates near the outer planets. He had helped rescue ships that were lost in deep space. He had done many dangerous things, but he had never received a message like this one. The message told him to report to Ambassador Grace Holloway immediately. It said nothing else. No explanation. No details. Just an order to come at once. Jake got out of bed and put on his uniform. He looked at himself in the small mirror on his wall. He was 34 years old, with short brown hair and blue eyes. His face showed the years of hard work in space. He was not a handsome man in the way movies showed heroes. He was ordinary, but his eyes were sharp and they missed nothing. He walked through the quiet halls of the station. Most people were sleeping at this hour. The lights were dim to save power. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He wondered what could be so important that it could not wait until morning. The ambassador's office was on the top level of the station. 2 guards stood at the door. They checked his identification and let him pass. Inside, Grace Holloway was sitting behind a large desk covered with papers and screens. She was an older woman with gray hair and a tired face. She had been Earth's voice to the galaxy for 20 years. "Commander Harris," she said. "Please sit down." Jake sat in the chair across from her. He waited. He had learned long ago that important people would speak when they were ready. Grace looked at him for a long moment. Then she spoke. "What do you know about the Kathrani Empire?" Jake thought about the question. The Kathrani were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been traveling between stars when humans were still living in caves. They were proud and powerful. Their empire covered hundreds of planets. "I know they are ancient," Jake said. "I know they are strong. I know they do not like to deal with younger species like humans." Grace nodded. "That is correct. But something has changed. The Kathrani Emperor is dying. He has 2 children, a daughter named Valera and a son named Sorth. The daughter is older and should become the next ruler. But her brother wants the throne for himself." Jake listened carefully. He did not understand why this involved him. Grace continued. "There is a summit happening on a neutral space station. Many species will be there to discuss trade and peace. Princess Valera must attend. She must show that she is strong enough to rule. But there is a problem." She paused and looked at Jake with serious eyes. In Kathrani culture, a royal who is not married is seen as weak. It means they have no one to protect them, no one to stand with them. The noble houses will not support a princess who appears alone and vulnerable. Her brother will use this against her. Jake was starting to understand. She needs a husband. "Yes," Grace said, "but not a real one. She needs someone to pretend. Someone to sit beside her at the summit and act like her loving partner. Someone who will make the other Kathrani believe she is protected. And you want me to do this?" Jake asked. He was surprised. He was a soldier, not an actor. Grace leaned forward. "The princess asked for a human specifically. Do you know why?" Jake shook his head. "Because humans are famous in the galaxy," Grace explained. "Not for our technology or our weapons. We are famous for something else. We are famous for loyalty, for devotion. The aliens have studied our history. They have seen how humans will die for the people they love. They have seen how we form bonds that nothing can break." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness of space. "Other species do not understand us," she said. "They think with logic. They calculate risks and rewards. But humans love without reason. We protect without thinking about ourselves. This makes us strange to them. It also makes us valuable. Jake understood now. The princess did not just need a fake husband. She needed someone the other aliens would believe would truly die for her. She needed a human. There is something else, Grace said. Humans can read emotions better than any other species. We can see tiny changes in faces. We can hear lies in voices. We notice things that others miss. At this summit, there will be danger. Prince Sorath will try to hurt his sister. You will need to watch for threats. Jake was quiet for a moment. This was a strange mission. He was not sure he could pretend to love someone he had never met. But he was a soldier. He followed orders. How long? He asked. 3 days, Grace answered. The summit lasts 3 days. You will sit beside her during the meetings. You will attend dinners with her. You will act like you adore her. Then you will come home and continue your normal duties. Jake nodded slowly. 3 days. He could do anything for 3 days. When do I leave? He asked. Tomorrow morning, Grace said. A ship is waiting. You will arrive at the neutral station 1 day before the summit begins. This will give you time to meet the princess and learn your role. She walked back to her desk and picked up a small data pad. She handed it to Jake. This contains everything we know about Kathrani culture, she said. How they greet each other. What gestures mean. What is polite and what is rude. Study it carefully. You cannot make mistakes. Jake took the pad and stood up. He started to leave, but stopped at the door. Ambassador, he said, why did you choose me? There are many human soldiers. Why me? Grace looked at him with a small smile. Because I watched the video of what you did on the colony ship last year. When the fire broke out and everyone was running to save themselves, you ran back into the flames 3 times to carry out children. You almost died. When they asked you why, you said you did not think about it. You just acted. She paused. That is what I need. Someone who protects without thinking. Someone who acts from the heart. The aliens will see it in you. They will believe you would die for the princess. Because you would. That is simply who you are. Jake did not know what to say. He had never thought of himself as special. He had just done what felt right. Get some sleep, Commander, Grace said. Tomorrow your mission begins. Jake walked back to his room through the quiet halls. His mind was full of thoughts. In a few hours, he would leave everything familiar behind. He would pretend to be the husband of an alien princess he had never seen. He would protect her from enemies he did not know. He lay down on his bed, but did not sleep. He stared at the ceiling and wondered what Princess Valera was like. Was she kind or cruel? Was she warm or cold? Would she treat him like a partner or like a tool? He would find out soon enough. Outside his window, the stars kept shining. They did not care about politics or princes or fake marriages. They just burned in the darkness, steady and patient. Jake closed his eyes. Tomorrow would come whether he was ready or not. The ship carried Jake through the darkness between stars. He spent the journey reading everything on the datapad. He learned about Kathrani customs. He learned their words for greeting and farewell. He learned that they valued strength and loyalty above all else. He learned that touching someone without permission was a great insult. But between married couples, touch was expected and honored. When the ship arrived at the neutral station, Jake felt nervous. This was strange because he had faced death many times without fear. But playing pretend scared him more than any battle. A guard met him at the landing bay. The guard was not human. He was Kathrani. He stood very tall with silver skin that seemed to glow from inside. His eyes were deep purple with golden spots. He looked at Jake with something like curiosity. You are the human, the guard said. It was not a question. Yes, Jake replied. Commander Jake Harris. The guard nodded. Follow me? The princess is waiting. They walked through halls made of white stone and crystal. The station was beautiful in a way Jake had never seen. Lights floated in the air without any wires holding them. Water flowed up the walls instead of down. Everything felt like magic, though Jake knew it was just technology far beyond what humans had built. They stopped at a large door decorated with golden symbols. The guard pressed his hand against the door, and it opened without sound. Go inside, the guard said. She is there. Jake walked into the room. His heart was beating fast. He did not know what he would find. The room was large and filled with soft light. Curtains of silver fabric hung from the ceiling. In the center of the room was a pool of clear water. And sitting beside the pool, looking at her reflection, was Princess Valera. She turned when she heard him enter. Jake stopped breathing for a moment. She was beautiful. Not in the way human women were beautiful. Her beauty was something else entirely. Her skin was pale silver like moonlight. Her hair was long and dark blue, falling past her shoulders like a waterfall at night. Her eyes were violet with rings of gold around the center. She wore a simple white dress that moved like water when she stood. But it was not her appearance that struck Jake the most. It was her eyes. They held sadness. Deep, heavy sadness that she carried like a weight on her soul. You are Jake Harris, she said. Her voice was soft and musical. The human who will pretend to love me. Jake bowed his head slightly, remembering the customs he had studied. Yes, Your Highness. I am here to serve. Valera walked toward him slowly. She moved with grace that made her seem like she was floating. She stopped close to him and looked into his eyes. Jake felt like she was searching for something inside him. You are not what I expected, she said finally. What did you expect? Jake asked. I expected a soldier. Hard and cold. A man who would do this job without caring. She tilted her head slightly. But I see something different in your eyes. You are nervous. Why? Jake was surprised that she could read him so easily. I am afraid of failing, he admitted. I am not an actor. I do not know if I can pretend well enough. Something changed in her face. The sadness lifted slightly. That is an honest answer. I appreciate honesty. There is so little of it in my life. She turned and walked to a window that looked out at the stars. Jake watched her and felt something strange in his chest. He did not understand it. Do you know why I asked for a human? Valera said, without looking at him. The ambassador told me. She said humans are known for loyalty and devotion. Valera nodded. Yes, but there is more. I have read about your species. I have read your stories and your histories. Do you know what I found most interesting? No, Jake said. She turned to face him. Love. Humans write so many stories about love. You sing about it. You make art about it. You start wars for it and end wars for it. You die for it and live for it. No other species in the galaxy is so obsessed with this feeling. She walked closer to him again. Among my people, marriage is about politics. It is about power and alliances. Love is rare and often seen as weakness. But humans believe love is strength. I find that fascinating. Jake did not know how to respond. He had never thought about love as something unusual. It was simply part of being human. Come, Valera said. Sit with me. We should talk. If we are to convince others that we are partners, we must know each other. They sat on soft chairs near the window. Valera asked him about his life. She wanted to know where he grew up, what his parents were like, what his favorite food was, what made him happy, what made him sad. Jake answered every question honestly. He told her about growing up in a small town in Colorado. He told her about the mountains he used to climb as a boy. He told her about his mother, who made the best apple pie in the world, and his father, who taught him to fix things with his hands. He told her about joining the fleet to see the stars. He told her about the loneliness of space and how he sometimes missed the smell of rain. Valera listened to everything. Her eyes never left his face. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You have a good heart," she said softly. "I can hear it in your words." Then she told him about her own life. She told him about growing up in a palace where everyone wanted something from her. About a mother who died when she was young. About a father who loved her but was always busy with the empire. About a brother who hated her because she was born first. "Sorath believes he would be a better ruler," Valera said. "Perhaps he is right. He is strong and clever. He knows how to make people fear him. But I do not want my people to live in fear. I want them to live in hope." Jake felt his heart grow warm as she spoke. She was not just a princess doing politics. She was a person trying to help her people. She was kind and good in a galaxy that was often cold and cruel. "The summit begins tomorrow," Valera said. "We will sit together at the great table. You will hold my hand. You will look at me like I am precious to you. Can you do this?" Jake looked at her sad violet eyes, at her gentle face, at the weight she carried alone. "Yes," he said. And he meant it. That night, they ate dinner together in her room. She asked him more questions about Earth. She laughed when he told her funny stories about his childhood. Her laugh was like bells ringing. Jake found himself wanting to hear it again and again. When it was time to sleep, he went to the small room next to hers. He lay on his bed and thought about her. He thought about how lonely she seemed. How brave she was to face her enemies without showing fear. How she had chosen to trust a stranger from another world. He had come here to do a job. To pretend for 3 days and then leave. But something was changing inside him. Something he did not expect. He was starting to care about her. Not because he was ordered to, but because she deserved to be cared about. Jake closed his eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would be difficult. There would be enemies watching. There would be danger hiding behind polite smiles. But he would be ready. He would sit beside her and protect her. Not because it was his mission, because it was the right thing to do. The stars outside. His window seemed brighter than before. Or maybe he was just seeing them differently now. Either way, something had changed, and there was no going back. The great hall of the summit was enormous. Columns of crystal rose from the floor to the ceiling high above. Floating lights drifted through the air like slow fireflies. Representatives from dozens of species sat at curved tables arranged in a circle. Jake had never seen so many different beings in one place. He sat beside Valera at the Kathrani table. Her hand rested on his arm. To everyone watching, they looked like a devoted couple. Jake kept his face calm and warm. He looked at her often with soft eyes. He leaned close when she whispered to him. He played his role perfectly, but his mind was working hard. He watched everyone in the room. He studied faces and movements. He looked for signs of danger. Prince Sorath sat at the opposite end of the Kathrani table. He was tall like his sister, but his face was hard and cold. His eyes were the same violet, but without any warmth. When he looked at Valera, Jake saw hatred. Pure and deep hatred. Sorath had brought his own people. They sat around him like guards. They watched Valera and Jake with suspicious eyes. Jake memorized each face. If trouble came, it would come from them. The first day of the summit passed without problems. There were long speeches about trade agreements and borders. Jake understood little of it. Politics was not his strength. But he stayed alert and watched for any sign of threat. That evening, there was a formal dinner. All the delegates gathered in a grand dining hall. Tables were covered with foods from 100 worlds. Music played softly from somewhere Jake could not see. It should have been peaceful. But Jake felt something wrong in the air. He and Valera sat at the high table reserved for important guests. Servants moved between the tables carrying drinks and plates. Jake watched them carefully. He noticed how they moved, how they held their trays, how their eyes moved across the room. Most of them were normal, doing their jobs without thought. But one was different. He was a young Kathrani male with silver skin like the others. He carried a tray of drinks. His movements were smooth and practiced, but his eyes kept moving to Prince Sorath, and his hand trembled slightly when he poured. Jake felt his body tense. Something was wrong. The servant moved through the crowd. He stopped at various tables, offering drinks. He was getting closer to the high table, closer to Valera. Jake watched the young male's face. He saw fear there, and guilt. The eyes of someone doing something terrible because they had no choice. The servant reached their table. He bowed low and offered his tray to Valera. On the tray was a single glass filled with golden liquid. "For your highness," the servant said. His voice shook slightly. "A special drink from the northern mountains of your homeworld." Valera smiled and reached for the glass. Jake's hand shot out and grabbed it first. "Please," Jake said with a warm smile. "Allow me to taste it for my wife. It is a human tradition to test drinks for our beloved." Valera looked at him with surprise. The servant's face went pale. Across the room, Jake saw Sorath lean forward with sudden interest. Jake raised the glass to his lips. He saw the servant's eyes go wide with horror. He saw the silent scream forming on the young male's face, and he drank. The liquid was sweet at first. Then fire spread through his body. Pain exploded in his chest. His vision blurred. He heard Valera scream his name as the glass fell from his hand. Then he fell too, crashing to the floor as darkness took him. When he woke, he did not know how much time had passed. He was lying on a soft bed in a room filled with strange machines. His whole body ached like he had been beaten. His throat burned like he had swallowed hot coals. But he was alive. He turned his head and saw Valera sitting beside his bed. Her eyes were red from crying. Her silver face was streaked with tears. When she saw him move, she grabbed his hand with both of hers. "Jake," she whispered. Her voice broke on his name. "You are awake. I thought I lost you." Jake tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Valera quickly gave him water. He drank slowly and then managed to talk. "What happened?" he asked. His voice sounded rough and weak. "The drink was poison," Valera said. "A poison made to kill Kathrani. It would have killed me in seconds. My heart would have stopped before I could take another breath." She squeezed his hand tighter. "But you drank it. You put yourself between me and death. You did not even think about it." Jake remembered now. He remembered seeing the fear in the servant's eyes. He remembered knowing something was wrong. He had acted without thinking, just like the ambassador had said he would. "The poison did not kill you," Valera continued. "Your human body is different from ours. The poison made you very sick, but it could not stop your heart. The doctors say you will recover fully in a few days." Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He felt tired down to his bones, but he also felt relief. He was alive, and more importantly, she was alive. "The servant," Jake said. "What happened to him?" Valera's face hardened. "He was caught immediately. He confessed everything. My brother paid his family a large sum of money. He threatened to kill them if the young man did not do this thing. He was a tool of Sorath's hatred." "And Sorath?" Jake asked. "He claims he knows nothing. He says the servant acted alone. But no one believes him now." A small smile crossed her face. "You exposed him, Jake. not through words or politics, through your actions. Every delegate in that hall saw what you did. They saw you drink poison from me without hesitation. She stood and walked to the window. Her voice was soft now. In Kethrani culture, there is no greater proof of devotion than offering your life for another. What you did was supposed to be impossible. A fake husband would never risk death. Everyone knows this. So they now believe our bond is real. She turned to face him. Her violet eyes shone with emotion. The noble houses are turning against my brother. They see his cruelty and they reject it. They see your courage and they honor it. You have changed everything. Jake did not know what to say. He had just done what felt right. He had not thought about politics or consequences. Valera walked back to his bed and sat down again. She took his hand once more. Her touch was gentle and warm. "You have been unconscious for 6 hours," she said. "I did not leave your side. Not for a moment. When I saw you fall, I felt something break inside me. I felt fear like I have never known." She looked into his eyes. "This was supposed to be pretend, Jake. You were supposed to be acting. But no actor drinks poison. No pretender offers their life. What you did was real." Jake looked at her beautiful face. He saw the truth in her eyes. He felt the warmth of her hand in his. "Maybe it was always real," he said quietly. "Maybe I stopped pretending on the first day." Valera was silent. A tear rolled down her silver cheek. She did not wipe it away. "Rest now," she finally said. "You need to heal. The summit continues tomorrow, and you must be there. My brother has not given up. There may be more danger ahead." She leaned down and pressed her forehead against his. It was a Kethrani gesture of deep affection. Jake closed his eyes and felt peace wash over him. He had come here as a fake husband, a soldier playing a role. But something had changed. Something in his heart had opened that he could not close again. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if there was any future for them beyond these 3 days. But right now, in this moment, he knew one thing for certain. He would protect her with his last breath, because she was no longer just a princess. He was assigned to help Dot. She was something more. Something precious. Something worth any sacrifice. And Jake Harris never walked away from what mattered. Jake recovered faster than the doctors expected. Human bodies, they discovered, were remarkably good at healing. Within 2 days, he was back on his feet. His muscles were still weak and his throat still hurt, but he could walk and speak. That was enough. The final day of the summit arrived. It was the most important day. All the agreements would be signed. All the speeches would be made. And most importantly, the Galactic Council would formally recognize which Kethrani royal had their support. Everyone knew what was coming. After the poison attack, Prince Sorath had lost everything. The noble houses refused to meet with him. Other species avoided his table. He sat alone with his guards, his face dark with anger. He had gambled on murder and lost. Jake and Valera entered the great hall together. He wore a formal uniform that she had given him. It was black and silver with patterns that matched her dress. To everyone watching, they looked like they belonged together, like they had been partners for years instead of days. They took their seats at the high table. Jake noticed that their chairs had been moved. Before, there was space between them. Now the chairs touched. A small change, but meaningful. The delegates were showing their approval. The speeches began. One by one, representatives from different worlds stood and spoke about peace and cooperation. Jake listened, but his mind kept wandering. He kept looking at Valera, at the way light played on her silver skin, at the graceful movement of her hands when she spoke, at the small smile she gave him when their eyes met. These were their last hours together. After the ceremony, his mission would be complete. A ship was waiting to take him back to his post. He would return to his normal life. She would return to her palace and her empire. The thought filled him with sadness he did not expect. Finally, it was time for the most important moment. The head of the Galactic Council stood. He was an old being from a species Jake did not recognize. His voice was deep and carried across the silent hall. "The Council has observed the events of this summit carefully," the old one said. "We have seen truth revealed and lies exposed. We have seen courage that inspires and cruelty that disgusts. Now we make our choice." He turned to face the Kethrani delegation. "Princess Valera of the Kethrani Empire, the Council recognizes you as the rightful heir to your father's throne. You have proven yourself through wisdom, grace, and the devotion you inspire in others. May your rule bring peace to your people." The hall erupted in applause. Delegates from every species clapped their hands or made whatever gesture meant approval in their culture. It was overwhelming. Jake looked at Valera. Tears were streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Years of struggle and fear were finally over. Her enemies were defeated. Her future was secure. She turned to Jake and took his hands. "Thank you," she whispered. "I could not have done this without you." Jake smiled back at her. His heart was full and heavy at the same time. Full because he was happy for her. Heavy because he knew what came next. The ceremony continued. Documents were signed. Final speeches were made. Hours passed in a blur of formal words and traditional gestures. Through it all, Jake sat beside Valera with her hand in his. Then it was over. The summit was complete. The delegates began to leave, returning to their ships and their homeworlds. The great hall slowly emptied. Jake knew it was time. He stood from his chair and straightened his uniform. Ambassador Holloway had sent a message. His shuttle was ready. His mission was finished. He turned to Valera and bowed his head. "Your Highness," he said. His voice was steady, even though his heart was breaking. "It has been an honor to serve you. I wish you a long and happy reign." He turned to walk away, to leave her life forever, to go back to being just another soldier in the fleet. He took one step. Then two. The door was not far. A few more steps, and he would be gone. Then he felt her hand close around his. Jake stopped. His heart stopped. The whole world seemed to stop. He turned around slowly. Valera had risen from her seat. She was standing beside him, her hand gripping his like she was holding onto life itself. Her violet eyes were wide and filled with something he had never seen there before. Fear. Not fear of enemies or politics. Fear of losing him. "Stay with me," she whispered. The words hung in the air between them. Simple words. Just 3 words. But they held the weight of everything. Jake looked around. The hall was not empty. Dozens of delegates and guards still remained. They were all watching. Watching the princes of the Kethrani Empire hold on to a human soldier and beg him not to leave. "Valera," Jake said softly. He used her name for the first time without her title. "I am just a soldier. You are going to be an empress. Our worlds are different. Our lives are different. I do not belong in your palace." She shook her head. Her grip on his hand tightened. "I do not care about palaces. I do not care about what is proper or expected. For 3 days, you have shown me what it feels like to be truly seen, truly valued, not as a princess or a political piece, as a person." She stepped closer to him. Her voice dropped to barely a whisper, but her words cut through him like a blade. "Everyone in my life wants something from me. Power, influence, favor, but you wanted nothing. You risked your life for me without asking for anything in return. You looked at me like I mattered. Just me. Not my crown." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I have been alone my whole life, Jake. Even in rooms full of people, I have been alone. But when I am with you, I feel like I am home. Please do not take that away from me." Jake felt something crack open inside his chest. All the walls he had built around his heart over the years crumbled like they were made of sand. He looked into her eyes. Those beautiful violet eyes that had haunted his dreams for 3 nights. He saw the truth there. This was not politics. This was not strategy. This was a woman reaching out for something real in a galaxy full of lies. And he felt the same thing. From the moment he met her, something had changed inside him. He had told himself it was the mission. He had told himself he was just playing a role. But that was never true. Every smile he gave her was real. Every gentle word was real. The fear he felt when she almost drank that poison was real. He loved her. He did not know when it happened or how. But he loved her. "I am not a prince," Jake said quietly. "I cannot give you power or alliances. I have no wealth or lands. All I have is myself. Is that enough?" Valera smiled through her tears. It was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. "It is more than enough," she said. "It is everything I have ever wanted." Jake raised his free hand and gently touched her face. Her skin was warm and soft under his fingers. Around them, he heard gasps from the watching delegates. A human touching a Kethrani royal so intimately was almost unheard of. But Jake did not care about customs or rules. He only cared about the woman in front of him. "Then I will stay," he said. "For as long as you want me. For as long as I live. I will stay." Valera laughed. A sound of pure joy that echoed through the hall. She threw her arms around him and held him tight. Jake wrapped his arms around her and felt complete in a way he never had before. The delegates who remained did not know how to react. Some stood frozen in shock. Others whispered to each other. A few smiled with understanding. But Jake and Valera did not notice any of them. In that moment. There was only each other. In that moment. Pretend became real, and nothing would ever be the same again. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. A human soldier and a Kethrani princess. It was the most talked about story in 100 years. Some called it beautiful. Others called it impossible. A few called it dangerous. Ambassador Holloway contacted Jake the day after the summit ended. Her face on the screen showed surprise and something else. Pride, maybe. "You were supposed to come home, Commander," she said. Jake nodded. "I know. I am sorry, Ambassador. But I cannot leave her." Holloway was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. "I know. I saw the recordings from the hall. The way she looked at you. The way you looked at her. That was never acting, was it?" "I thought it was," Jake admitted. "In the beginning, I truly thought I was just playing a role. But somewhere along the way, it became real. She became real to me." The ambassador sighed, but there was warmth in it. "I chose you because you protect without thinking. I should have guessed you would love the same way." She leaned forward. "Listen carefully, Jake. What you are doing will not be easy. You are entering a world of politics and power that you do not understand. There will be people who hate you simply because you are human. There will be challenges you cannot imagine." "I know," Jake said. "But I am not afraid." "Good," Holloway replied. "Because the Kethrani Emperor is still alive. He wants to meet the human who saved his daughter and captured her heart. That conversation will decide your future." The journey to the Kethrani homeworld took 3 days. Jake spent the time learning more about the Empire and its customs. Valera taught him personally. She sat beside him and explained the complex rules of the court. She told him about the noble houses and their histories. She warned him about the dangers he would face, but they also talked about simpler things. They talked about their childhoods, their fears, their dreams. Jake told her about Earth and how much he missed the mountains. Valera told him about a garden on her homeworld where blue flowers bloomed under 3 moons. With each conversation, Jake fell deeper in love. She was brilliant and kind. She was strong but gentle. She carried the weight of an empire on her shoulders, but still found time to laugh at his jokes. He had never met anyone like her. They arrived at the Kethrani homeworld as the sun was setting. The planet was beautiful beyond description. Cities of crystal and light spread across valleys and mountains. Rivers of silver water flowed through forests of blue and purple trees. It looked like something from a dream. The palace stood at the center of the capital city. It rose high into the sky, its towers catching the last light of day. This would be Jake's home now if the Emperor approved of him. The thought made his stomach tight with nerves. They landed in a courtyard filled with guards and servants. Everyone stared at Jake as he walked beside Valera. He felt their eyes on him. Curious eyes. Suspicious eyes. A human in the heart of the Kethrani Empire. It had never happened before. The Emperor received them in his private chambers. He was old and frail, sitting in a great chair that seemed too large for his thin body. But his eyes were sharp and clear. They studied Jake like a hawk studying prey. "So you are the human," the Emperor said. His voice was weak but filled with authority. "The one who drank poison from my daughter." Jake bowed low. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Come closer," the Emperor commanded. Jake approached the great chair. He stood before the most powerful being in the Kethrani Empire and tried to keep his fear hidden. The old ruler looked at him for a long time without speaking. "I have lived for 300 years, the Emperor finally said. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species evolve and destroy themselves. I thought I had seen everything, but I never expected to see my daughter in love with a human." He glanced at Valera, who stood near the door. Love filled his ancient eyes when he looked at her. "She has been unhappy for so long," he continued. "Her brother hates her. The nobles use her. Everyone wants something from her. But in these past days, since she met you, she smiles. She laughs. She looks at you like you hung the stars in the sky." He turned back to Jake. "Tell me, human, why should I let you marry my daughter? What do you offer? You have no power, no wealth, no armies. By every measure, you are nothing." Jake took a deep breath. He had prepared many answers to this question. But now, standing before the Emperor, all his prepared words disappeared. Only the truth remained. "You are right, Your Majesty," Jake said. "I have nothing to offer. I am just a man, a simple soldier from a young species. I cannot give Valera power or wealth. I cannot strengthen her empire with armies or alliances." He paused and looked at the old ruler with steady eyes. "But I can give her something that all your power cannot buy. I can give her my whole heart. Every day I am alive, I will love her. I will stand beside her in good times and bad. I will protect her, not because it is duty, but because my soul demands it. I will never lie to her. I will never use her. I will see her, the real her, not the crown she wears." His voice grew stronger. "Among my people, there is a tradition. When we marry, we speak vows. We promise to love and cherish until death parts us. I make that promise now. Not because you ask it, not because custom requires it, but because it is the truth of my heart." The room was silent. The Emperor stared at Jake with unreadable eyes. The guards stood frozen. Valera held her breath. Then the old ruler did something unexpected. He laughed. It was a weak, thin laugh that turned into a cough, but it was genuine. "My advisors told me to reject you," the Emperor said when he recovered. "They said a human was beneath our dignity. They said the people would never accept it. They gave me 100 reasons to send you away." He leaned forward in his chair. But none of them could tell me when my daughter last smiled the way she smiles now. None of them could show me a noble who would drink poison for her. None of them could promise to love her without wanting anything in return. He nodded slowly. You have no power, Jake Harris, but you have something more valuable. You have truth. And in a palace full of lies, truth is the rarest treasure. He raised his hand, the gesture of royal blessing. You have my approval. Marry my daughter. Love her. Protect her. Show this galaxy what human devotion truly means. Jake felt tears in his eyes. He bowed again, deeper than before. Thank you, Your Majesty. I will not fail you. The Emperor smiled. I believe you. The wedding took place 1 month later. Guests came from across the galaxy. Humans and Kethrani and dozens of other species gathered to witness something new. Something that had never happened before. Jake stood at the altar in clothes of silver and white. He watched Valera walk toward him in a dress that shimmered like starlight. She was so beautiful that his heart ached when she reached him. She took his hands. They spoke the vows of her people first. Ancient words in a language Jake was still learning. Then they spoke the vows of his people. Simple words about love and commitment. And when the ceremony ended, Jake kissed his wife under 3 moons, while the galaxy watched. In the years that followed, they ruled together. The human and the Empress. They faced challenges and overcame them. They made enemies and defeated them. They had children who carried the best of both worlds in their blood. And every night, when the palace grew quiet and the stars shone outside their window, Jake would hold Valera close and remember. He remembered the day he sat next to her as a fake husband. He remembered how scared he was of failing. He remembered thinking it would just be a job. 3 days and then goodbye. But the universe had other plans. Some people search their whole lives for love and never find it. Some people find it and let it slip away. But Jake Harris found love in the most unexpected place. And when it asked him to stay, he said yes. That was what made humans special. Not their technology or their weapons. Not their strength or their speed. It was their hearts. Their ability to love without reason. To give without expectation. To choose connection over safety. The galaxy had called humans strange, young, unpredictable. But now they called them something else. They called them devoted. And that was the greatest thing a species could be.